Perhaps the most powerful tool in the Develop Characters area is the Build Characters window. Now, the Build Characters window is probably not like anything you've ever seen before in regard to characters. That's because much of what it does here is uniquely Dramatica. The one familiar area is along here on the side, where we see our cast members just like we did in the other windows. And again, you can highlight any one of them, and double-clicking will bring up its information window. So all throughout the Develop Characters area, whenever you want to make changes to your descriptions or assign a different kind of character function to a character, you can do that just by double-clicking on the icon wherever it appears. Now, this grid of 16 squares near the center of the window is at the heart of the Build Characters process. Characters may or may not have a dramatic function in your story. Some may be there for plot convenience, or to drop exposition, or perhaps for comic relief, for example. But if a character is to have a functional role in the drama, they need to represent the basic character elements. Each element is part of the overall argument of the story. It shows different ways of looking at or proceeding with the effort to achieve the story's goal. For example, logic versus feeling, faith versus disbelief, support versus oppose, or pursuing something versus avoiding something. Each one of these gives a different approach for the characters to take, and you can assign a character to take one of these approaches by clicking on it and dragging it and say, this character will represent logic in the story. Whenever logic comes up, this is the character to call on, whereas this character might represent feeling in the story. And so these two characters would come into a certain kind of conflict because they're diametrically opposed in their approach. You can see that kind of relationship over here on the right-hand side, where the position within each group of 4 squares represents the way in which the characters will relate. As we drag more characters onto the screen, new relationships are created. In this case, a horizontal relationship and a vertical relationship. We'll discuss these relationships in a moment, but the key is that these elements are something of a periodic table of story elements, just like there are periodic elements in chemistry. And there are 4 different flavors or varieties: character motivations, character purposes, character methodologies, and character evaluations. Each one can have characters assigned to give them specific characteristics.